What would you do if you were standing in front of an abandoned house known for whispers no one can explain? Jake and his friends decided to explore the infamous Whispering House, but what started as an adventure quickly turned into something far more sinister. Doors closing on their own, creepy laughter, and secrets buried for decades. Will they make it out unscathed? In this video, you'll witness every tense moment of this eerie investigation. If you're into spine-chilling thrills and unexpected discoveries, keep watching. Jake and his friends are about to uncover something that will change everything. The question is, do you have the guts to stick around until the end?
Behind the doors.
Jake was excited, his eyes shining with the prospect of an adventure. He turned to his friends who were sitting on the sidewalk in front of the school and said, "Let's explore the Whispering House tonight. What do you guys think?" Sarah, the skeptic of the group, raised an eyebrow. "Seriously, Jake? Do you really believe those ghost stories are true? It's just an old house full of dust and rats." Kevin, the most fearful, crossed his arms and looked down at the ground. "I don't know, man. What if there's really something there? What happens if we, I don't know, encounter an evil spirit or something?" Lisa, always the enthusiast for urban legends, smiled. "Oh, it's going to be amazing. Just imagine if we find some evidence that it's true. This will be the best story ever." Jake looked at his friends, noticing Kevin's hesitation and Sarah's skeptical expression. "Come on, it's just an old house. We're in this together, and if it's nothing, we'll laugh about it later. And if it is, well, at least we'll have a story to tell." Sarah sighed, but there was something about Jake's determination that made her reconsider. "Okay, but if I hear a whisper, I swear I'm running out of there." With the decision made, the group grabbed their flashlights and headed towards the Whispering House, which was located on the outskirts of town, surrounded by tall trees and an atmosphere of mystery. As they approached, the sky darkened and a cold breeze began to blow, making Sarah's hair stand on end. She looked at Jake, who seemed oblivious to the tense atmosphere. "Do you feel that?" she asked, her voice a little lower. "It's just the wind, Sarah," Jake replied, trying to sound confident, but a slight unease was beginning to creep into him as well. When they finally arrived at the house, the structure loomed before them like a monument to the past, with broken windows and a moss-covered roof. The front door, made of dark wood, looked more like an open mouth, both inviting and threatening at the same time. A deep silence enveloped the place, as if the house itself was waiting. "I don't like this," Kevin murmured, clutching his flashlight tightly. "Let's go back?" "No, let's go in," Jake insisted, taking a step forward. He pushed the door, which slowly creaked open as if an invisible force was pulling it. A sinister creak echoed through the air, and everyone hesitated. "Did you see that?" Lisa asked, her eyes wide. "The door opened on its own." "It's just an illusion, guys," Sarah said, trying to stay calm. "Let's go in and get this over with." With one last nervous glance at his friends, Jake crossed the threshold, and reluctantly, the others followed. As soon as they crossed the door, a wave of cold air enveloped them, and they realized that the atmosphere inside the house was even more oppressive than outside. The walls were covered in mold, and a dense gloom made it difficult to see what lay ahead. "This is creepy," Kevin whispered, looking around, searching for any sign of movement. "I really shouldn't have come." "Come on, Kevin. Don't be such a scaredy cat," Jake teased, trying to lighten the mood. "Just look at this. It's so interesting." Sarah, however, kept watching everything attentively. "This isn't interesting, Jake. It's terrifying. Let's just find out what's here and get out." As Sarah's words hung in the air, a stronger wind blew, causing the door to slam shut behind them with a loud bang, leaving the group in sudden, unsettling silence. The echo of the noise reverberated through the walls, and they all looked at each other, adrenaline coursing through their veins. "I don't like this." Kevin shook his head, his eyes wide. "Let's leave now." "We're not going anywhere until we figure out what's going on here," Jake replied, his determination stronger than his fear. They were together, and regardless of what they found, they couldn't turn back. The Whispering House held secrets that needed to be revealed, And as terrifying as the idea was, curiosity was stronger. The atmosphere inside the whispering house was heavy, as if the very air was filled with untold secrets. Jake, Sarah, Kevin, and Lisa hesitated for a moment, absorbing the sight of a world that seemed dust-covered old furniture lined the rooms, some still recognizable in shape, while others had succumbed to decay, as if the house itself wanted to hide from curious eyes. Black and white photographs adorned the walls, depicting a family that appeared happy, but whose stifled expressions hinted at a deep mystery. "Look at this," Lisa said, approaching one of the photographs. "They look so normal." The image showed a woman in a floral dress with 3 children, all smiling. But something about their faces seemed unsettling. The faint light from Jake's flashlight danced across the fogged glass, revealing a strange glint in one of the children's eyes. "Normal? Do you really think so?" Sarah raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms. "These are the same people who disappeared. We can't be fooled by this facade." Kevin, who had been hanging back, started to feel uneasy. "I just want to get out of here. This is all too weird." He looked up at the ceiling, as if expecting to see something descend from it. "Why are we even here?" "Because this is the Whispering House. We need to find out the truth," Jake replied, his voice firm, trying to encourage the group. "If we don't, these legends will continue to haunt us." But before they could continue the conversation, a soft, distant whisper cut through the silence. Kevin froze, his heart racing instantly. "Did you guys hear that?" His voice trembled, and he looked at the others, hoping for an answer that would make him feel safe again. "It was just the wind." Sarah tried to demystify the situation, but her gaze betrayed a slight hesitation. She wasn't as certain as she wanted to appear. "It wasn't the wind, I heard it clearly," Kevin insisted, his voice now a whisper. "It came from upstairs. We need to leave." "Let's investigate," Lisa exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with the excitement of the unknown. "It could be a clue." "Or a trap," Kevin muttered, but he was ignored. Sarah, in a burst of courage, decided that she couldn't let fear dominate. "If I go up, you all come with me. We have to face this together." She started to climb the creaky stairs, the steps groaning under her weight, each step echoing in the silence of the house. "Sarah, wait!" Jake shouted, but it was too late. She had already reached the top. The shadows danced on the walls, and the light from the flashlight flickered unsettlingly. "Let's not split up." Jake followed her, while Lisa and Kevin exchanged nervous glances. When they reached the top floor, a quick shadow crossed Sarah's field of vision. She stopped abruptly, her breath quickening. "Did you guys see that?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "I did, but now's not the time to freeze up," Jake replied, trying to maintain a commanding tone. "The light is really strange up here. Let's see what's going on." Kevin, now trailing behind them, couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I don't like this. Let's go back, please." "Come on, Kevin," Lisa said, trying to calm him. "We can't leave now. We're so close to finding out what happened here." But before they could argue further, the lights began to flicker frenetically, and a chilling draft swept through the hallway. Panic began to spread like wildfire among them. Sarah looked at her friends, her eyes wide. "There's something here. We need to leave now." However, deep within their souls, there was a mix of curiosity and fear that kept them there, bound to a fate they seemed unable to avoid. The house seemed alive, and every whisper, every shadow was a call to uncover the truth that had long been buried within its dusty walls. The oppressive atmosphere of the Whispering House weighed down on Jake, Sarah, Kevin, and Lisa as they dispersed through the room, each of them searching for some explanation for the phenomena they were witnessing. Lisa, in a corner, was examining a bookshelf covered in dust when her eyes fixed on something peculiar. A leather-bound diary, worn with age, caught her attention like a beacon in the darkness. "Hey, guys, come and see this," Lisa exclaimed, holding the diary in both hands as if it were a sacred object. Jake, Sarah, and Kevin quickly gathered around, their expressions a mix of... Jake asked, peering over Lisa's shoulder. "A diary. It looks like it belonged to someone who lived here," Lisa said, gently opening the cover. The pages were yellowed, but the words were still legible. It talks about strange things happening in the house. Apparitions, whispers. It seems like those stories are true. Sarah frowned, ever the skeptic. This could just be a story someone made up. Maybe it was just the imagination of someone who was bored. But what if it's not? Kevin interjected, his nervous gaze shifting around the room. What if it's true? What if we're in danger? Lisa continued reading aloud, ignoring the debate. Sometimes I hear laughter and whispers, as if someone is trying to call me. These sounds come from the basement. She turned the page and with a look of shock read, "Never go down to the basement. For those who do, never return." A heavy silence hung in the air as the words echoed in the friends' minds. Kevin's heart raced and he glanced toward the stairs leading down to the basement, as if wishing the exit were closer. "I don't like this. I think we should leave now. We've had enough, right? Let's go home," Kevin pleaded, his voice shaking. Jake, trying to keep calm, shook his head. "I think we need to understand what's happening. If this house has a dark past, we need to know more. It might be the only way to feel safe." At that moment, a loud crash echoed from the basement. The sound was loud and menacing, causing everyone to flinch. "What was that?" Sarah asked, her eyes wide. "I don't know, but it sounded like it came from below," Jake replied, his gaze determined. "Let's check it out." "Are you crazy? I'm not going down there," Kevin shouted, his face pale. "We should leave now." Sarah, always the bravest of the group, reached out to Jake. "If you're going, I'm going with you. We need to find out the truth." "I'm in too," Lisa said, her voice firm. "If there's something or someone down there, we need to face it." Reluctantly, Kevin followed them, though his body trembled with fear. They descended the stairs, each step creaking underfoot as if the house itself was protesting their actions. The air grew colder with each step, and a faint whisper seemed to follow them, as if the house was trying to communicate. When they reached the bottom of the stairs, the darkness enveloped them. The light from Jake's flashlight barely illuminated a small part of the basement, revealing damp walls and broken furniture. But before they could adjust to their surroundings, a sudden gust of wind blew through, and the door they had just walked through slammed shut violently behind them, causing everyone to jump in shock. "We're trapped!" Kevin shouted, banging his hand against the door in desperation. "We need to get out now!" "Calm down, Kevin," Jake said, trying to maintain his composure. "We need to think. We'll find a way out." The whisper that had been soft now intensified, wrapped in a haunting wail as if the house was lamenting their presence. "What's happening?" Sarah asked, her face pale. "Is this real? Is it just our imagination?" "It's not our imagination," Lisa replied, her voice trembling. "These sounds, they're real. We need to figure out what they're trying to tell us." "But what if they're warnings?" Kevin asked, looking around, desperate to find an exit. "We could be in danger." "We need to be brave," Jake insisted. "We're here, and we can't let fear control us. Let's stick together and find out what's happening." The group, now united by urgency and fear, prepared to face whatever awaited them in the darkness of the basement. The darkness of the basement wrapped around Jake, Sarah, Kevin, and Lisa like a heavy blanket, while the beams of their phone flashlights flickered nervously, revealing the damp walls and shadows that seemed to move in and out of view. The silence was thick, broken only by the sound of their quickened breaths and the echo of whispers that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Each of them felt the fear pounding like a drum in their chest, but Sarah's curiosity seemed to challenge them to stay. "We need to find a way out," Jake said, his voice steady but trembling. He shone his flashlight on the walls, searching for any sign of hope. "Let's split up and look." "Split up? Are you crazy?" Kevin exclaimed, his voice a mix of desperation and disbelief. "That will just make us more vulnerable to this." He gestured widely, indicating the shadows that seemed to writhe on the walls. "Let's just get out of here, please." "Kevin, wait," Lisa said, grabbing his arm. "We need to understand what's happening. It's the only way to get rid of this." Her belief in urban legends made her more fearless about the supernatural, and she looked at Jake as if expecting a signal of courage. Suddenly, a burst of wind swept through the basement, sending the letters flying through the air and slamming the door of the room shut with a loud bang that echoed through the walls. The group jumped, and the tension, which was already palpable, intensified. "We're trapped," Kevin shouted, pounding his hand on the door in desperation. "We need to get out now." "Calm down. Calm down. Let's think," Sarah said, trying to contain the panic. "There has to be a way to open this door." As they tried to find a way out, Jake remembered something he had read in the letters. The letter talks about an object that could help, something that belonged to the family. It might be the key to understanding what happened here. "What object?" Lisa asked, her curiosity now eclipsing her fear. "It says here that it was some kind of amulet, something they used to protect themselves. We need to find it," Jake replied, his mind already racing. "And where do you think we can find it?" Sarah asked, looking around. "This house is a maze. Maybe in the room next door. That place was full of junk. The amulet could be there," Jake suggested, pointing to a side door that was slightly ajar. "But what if there are more strange things in there?" Kevin said, his voice faltering. "Whatever it is, we need to face it together," Jake said, already moving toward the door. "Let's go, all together." They moved slowly toward the adjoining room, the darkness seeming to deepen as they approached. Jake pushed the door open, which creaked ominously, revealing a space cluttered with broken furniture and dusty old objects. The smell of mold and decay was strong, and a sense of unease settled over the group. "Look!" Lisa exclaimed, pointing to a corner of the room. "That chest! It looks old." Jake approached, opening the chest with some effort. Inside, they found a collection of strange objects, but a small, gleaming metal amulet caught his attention. "Here it is. This is it," he said, holding the amulet in his palm. But before they could celebrate, a new whisper echoed through the basement, an almost childlike sound that seemed to call out to them. The room seemed to vibrate, and the temperature dropped abruptly. They looked at each other, a collective fear settling in. "We need to leave now," Kevin murmured, his eyes wide with terror. However, the door was still shut, and the only exit seemed... The group was paralyzed, the tension building, as the whisper echoed louder and more insistently, as if the house was stirring, ready to reveal its darkest secrets. The tense silence in the basement was abruptly broken by a child's laughter, echoing off the cold, damp walls. The sound was light, almost ethereal, but the effect it had on the group was devastating. They all looked at each other, eyes wide, hearts racing. Kevin, already pale as a ghost, murmured in a trembling voice. "What was that?" "We must be going crazy," Sarah tried to downplay, though her own voice trembled. "It can't be real." No, this isn't normal," Lisa responded, pointing with a shaky hand to a crack in the opposite wall. "Look, there's something there." Curious and terrified, they approached the fissure. The light from Jake's phone illuminated the area, revealing a blurred image of a child, with large, sad eyes that seemed to look directly at them. The figure appeared trapped, as if it were silently pleading for help. "It's a girl," Jake murmured, his voice almost a whisper. "She's trapped here. We need to help her," Lisa exclaimed, her determination showing through the fear. "She must be the family's daughter. But how can we do that?" Kevin asked, his gaze fixed on the crack, as if expecting the answer to appear there. Sarah, who had been the most skeptical in the group, felt a wave of empathy mixed with growing panic. "It's out," Jake deduced, already moving towards the crack. "We need to figure out how." "But how? We have no idea what to do," Kevin responded, his fear spilling into desperation. "We need to try first," Lisa insisted. "Just think, if the house is tied to this story, maybe we can break the cycle. The girl needs us." With a nod, Jake moved closer to the wall. He began touching the cold, rough surface, searching for any sign of a passage or a way to open the crack. Meanwhile, the laughter echoed again, softer this time, but still sending chills down their spines. After a few moments of searching, Jake noticed that the sound of whispers had decreased, as if the house was listening to their conversation. He then stopped and said, "If the girl really needs help, maybe we need to do something symbolic, like a ritual." "Ritual?" Kevin asked, now more terrified than ever. "Are you serious?" "Yes. In the family's story, they were accused of witchcraft. If there's something we can do that resembles a ritual, maybe we can help her free the other spirits, Jake suggested. Sarah looked at her friends, her skepticism beginning to dissolve into a new determination. If it means helping the girl, then I'm in. What do we need to do? With the help of the phone's light, they found some old candles and torn pieces of paper, possibly left behind by the family. Jake, with an air of leadership, started arranging the items in a small circle on the floor, while the others helped gather everything. We need something that represents light and hope. Something that can break through this darkness, said Lisa, her voice full of conviction. Maybe we can light the candles and say some words out loud, Sarah suggested. Something that expresses our intent to help. With everything prepared, Jake lit the candles, and the gentle flame began to dance in the air, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. He looked at the crack in the wall, feeling the presence of the girl. If you're here, we want to help you. We want to set you and everyone else trapped in this house free. As they spoke, the whispers began to intensify again, louder and more urgent. The atmosphere grew heavy, almost electric, as if the house itself was reacting to the ritual they were performing. The image of the girl became clearer, and her eyes seemed to shine with hope. "Let's do it together," Jake shouted as they all held each other's hands. "We free you. Let the light come, and may you all find peace." With these words, a strong gust of wind passed through the basement, causing the candles to flicker and the shadows to dance frantically. The crack in the wall began to widen, revealing an intense light emanating from within. "Now's the time," Lisa shouted as the light grew. "Let's go." And so together they rushed towards the light, ready to break the cycle and free the souls that had been trapped for so long.